And a big welcome back to the Ask Coach Gallagher show alongside Coach Greg Gallagher. I'm Dave Erickson in Spokane, Washington. And many of you may be thinking, hey, I've been self-coached for years, or maybe I just completed my first year as an athlete, and now I want to take it to the next level. I need to hire someone to help me get the best out of myself. Greg, you're a coach. You've hired coaches in the past. Let's talk about how to choose a coach, when's a good time to hire a coach, and the pros and cons of maybe picking a training plan online versus having a personalized training plan. First of all, when is it a good time to start seriously considering hiring a coach?
Well, I think it turns into, are you doing it for fun and you don't really care about your results? Or are you a competitive person? And normally, if you're a triathlete, you're type A, and it's all about, okay, this is what I got to do. I got to do this, and I got to be good at that. And so, if you feel that you're wanting to step it up to the next level, and like you say, maybe you did it for a year, maybe you've done some local races and you really enjoyed it. Now you're going, okay, I know I can do better. Well, if you're not sure how to do better, well, a coach is going to actually get you to the level that you want to be at. It might not happen over the first year. You might not go from this kind of athlete all the way up here in 1 year, but over a period of time, that coach will get you to the next level. And it just, when you feel you're ready. I mean, I've been doing triathlon for 26 years. And so in 2006 is when I did my first Ironman, and I hired a coach because I wasn't sure. I raced other distances and had no problem, but once it got into that Ironman distance, that's a lot of unknown. And that was something that I had no experience in. And so that's when I hired a coach and went from there.
What was it about the Ironman that said, maybe I need some help on this one, and I can't do it on my own?
The shorter distances, they're over in a couple of hours. But an Ironman, I mean, you do something wrong, you can be out there 17 hours, and that's trying to figure out what a plan to get you to that finish line. And if you have no idea, shoot, that's a big endeavor to take on without any experience. So,
was there any pride involved or ego involved as these type A personalities? I need help.
I don't think. I mean, I was willing to get help because I knew that this was like I say, this is a big deal, and had no idea how to finish it. So I didn't have a problem getting a hold of a coach and asking some questions and figuring out, okay, yeah, I can see where I could use the help for finishing this thing.
What kind of questions, if you remember, did you ask that particular coach to find out if they were a good match for you? Or what was it that you heard that says, yes, I want you to coach me, I like what you have to say?
Well, one actually had to do with the coach's experience in the sport. And if the coach has never raced an Ironman distance and has no clue on exactly how to complete one, then I wouldn't hire that coach. And the coach I had completed it and had done numerous of them and had actually went to Kona and went to the Race of the World Championships. So from that, I felt they had the level of experience and knowledge to guide me in the right direction.
So it was practical experience, not necessarily they have a certificate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of book smart people, but book smart people don't mean that they can go out and do the sport just because they read a book.
The application of the information.
Yeah, they don't have that personal experience to know. I mean, you could read a book and it says, oh, this could happen. Well, okay, this guy, it happened to him, and he told me what he had to do to adjust. So personal experience is I think, a big issue, yeah.
Would that trump a certificate?
If I had two people that said they were coaches and one had a certificate and he had never done an Ironman race before and had no experience, and this guy over here, he didn't have a certificate, but he's done numerous races at that distance and he's done very well, I would choose the guy who's done well over the guy who read a book and doesn't have the experience in that distance.
So what should a person look for, or what kind of communication is necessary maybe at that distance? We'll go ahead and stick with the Ironman distance. What would you need, or what should a person feel as though they need? Every week they need to hear some feedback. Is it a matter of a in-person meeting? I'm just kind of getting a feel for other people out there what they should expect or require in a coach that they're hiring.
Well, I can't speak for others. I can speak for myself, and I I use a program called Training Peaks, and I know you're familiar with that, Dave. So when you download your race, your workout day, your data goes into this system. Well, it pops up, and I get an email, and I read over everything, and then I go look at the data to see exactly if you accomplish what we set out to do. And from that, I can leave you a small note. I can leave you a little email or saying, "Hey, great job, Dave. Everything looked good. At this point in time, we need to look at this." And I think at least once every 2 weeks to have a Skype visit or even a face-to-face or on the phone, just to check in and talk to your athletes so you can hear their voice, not trying to guess what they're saying through words on an email. And yeah, so I don't have a problem talking with my athletes, every couple of weeks. Make it short and sweet, and just double check how everything's going. Yeah.
Who's an ideal client for you? As a coach, what kind of clients are you seeking out that you feel you can make the most impact with? Maybe the age grouper, the professional. Is there a spot in between?
Uh, you know, I think age group is going to be probably the where you're going to see the biggest bang for your buck. You're going to get somebody maybe who doesn't have a lot of experience. Maybe he does, but he wants to go to that next level, and you're going to help him get there. Professional, those guys are there for a reason. They're good enough to get where they're at, and then to try to fine tune a professional, that's definitely taking on a bigger challenge than it would be taking on an age grouper and working with what time frames they have and their life schedules.
Yeah, they're a lot more serious about it. It's their livelihood. I mentioned this off the top a little bit about training plans online, and you can find these 10, 12, 16-week programs that are kind of cookie cutter for maybe the beginner triathlete. Anything wrong with those?
Again, it all depends on what you want to achieve. If your plan is to cross the finish line in 16 hours and 59 minutes and call yourself an Ironman, grabbing a cookie cutter is I mean, yeah, you can do it. But if you have some goals and you want to achieve a specific time, no, you need to work with a coach that's going to give you an individualized plan. Your plan, again, your plan that if I was to give you is going to be different than an athlete that I had last year doing the same distance. You guys aren't the same. You might have a strength in one of the three disciplines, so maybe you don't need to work as much on that discipline as the other two or the other one that you're a little more weaker in. So if you grabbed a cookie cutter, the cookie cutter doesn't know, the book doesn't know, hey, Dave's an outstanding cyclist. He doesn't need to cycle as much, but his swim, he can work on that or work on a few things in the run. You don't know those things. That's what a coach is figuring those things out for you.
And what I have found in personal experience, it's good to stay with the same coach for multiple years because they know your habits, they know your potential, and they get to know, I guess, your little quirks and what works for you and your
Right.
strengths. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, and like I had said previously, I'm not going to take on an athlete and tell them that next year, after racing one time, that I'm going to get them to Kona. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, okay, you have potential because I can see what you've done. Let's make a 2 or 3 year plan
Hmm.
and build and say, okay, let's make it a big shot on this 2017. Let's just say that date. We're gonna get you to race and try to qualify for Kona at that time. But yeah, I mean, I
Greg, what is your specialty? What's your favorite of the three sports?
My favorite of the three sports, probably the run. I feel I'm pretty strong in the run. The swim, I'm okay. The bike, I do fine, but I really think once I get off onto that run is where I can make up some time. So do I need as much training in the run? Not really. I would need more on the bike because that's the longest event, and then put some more effort into the swim, and hopefully I won't have to chase as many people.
And here's one more question that you didn't know was coming, is if you were to come from one of the three backgrounds prior to triathlon, which one would you have to come from to be the most successful at triathlon? And I think you might say cycling, but I'm not sure.
I think cycling. I and again, depending on the distance. If you're an Olympic distance, I mean, yeah, everything's so much shorter, but the swim comparable to a is longer if you were to break the percentages down. So, I mean, if you're an Olympic distance and you're, say you're on the draft legal, you got to be a strong swimmer. You have to be a strong swimmer. I mean, if you don't come from a swimming background in a draft legal race, you're not going to do well because that front pack who all did swimming from 5 years old on, they're going to get out in front. They're going to get on the bike first, and you're never going to catch them. So it all depends on the distance.
Well, I know this topic, this conversation kind of just went all over the place, but it all started off with choosing a coach, when's a good time, and what kind of training plan. So thank you very much, Greg. If you have a question for Greg, use the hashtag #AskCoachGallagher, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, and we will showcase it on an upcoming episode. Greg, thanks very much. Great talk.
All right. Thanks, Dave.